Hey everybody, Daniel Fusco here, and welcome to today's 2-minute message. I want to teach you a truth that I've heard and I've shared with so many people and I love so much, and it's simply this, that God's work done in God's way will never lack God's supply. Now what that means is, first, it's about whose work are we doing? It's about what is God's will and what is the work that God has. When people are linking up hands with God to do his work, that's called where God's kingdom is, where God is reigning. So when we're doing God's work and we're doing it in God's way, which means that we're not trying to do God's work in worldly ways. We're not trying to do God's work in ways that are sinful, all these different things. When you do God's work and you do it in the way that God wants it to be done, in a way that glorifies him in the way that we're carrying things out, then it will never lack God's supply. And what that means is God is willing to back up his work being done in his way. And so it's a great lesson, because I think oftentimes, people are like, hey man, I want to take this step, but man, I don't know that I have the resources to do it. And I always like to remind people that the provision is in the harvest, that when really God's provision for the work is actually in the harvest of the work that he's doing, but you'll never see the provision of what God would have if you're not doing his work, or if you're doing his work, but you're not doing it in his ways. And so we want not only to do the things that God invites us to, but we also want to do it with the qualities that really give him glory, with grace and love and kindness and gentleness and meekness. And when that happens, God's provision will always be there. I always find in my own life, if there's a lack of provision, I want to go back and say, Lord, am I doing your work, or am I trying to do my own work, saying it's your work? And second, is there in some way, am I cutting a corner so that you're not being glorified in the way that I'm doing the work? Because obviously the lack of provision might be pointing to that. So I never want to assume that I'm always getting it right, but I always want to make sure I ask the Lord so that he can reveal to me areas that he wants to grow me up in. So that's what I do. I want you to share this video, because how cool would it be if everybody was like, hey, I want to do God's work and do it in God's way, and then God would provide all that's needed to accomplish the work. And in the comment section, share a story where you saw God provide in pretty amazing ways, and what God did and how that really birthed in you a vision for joining God in the work that he wants to do. And God bless you today.